Okay, so in this video here, we're going to be talking about solving inequalities, and we're going to be dealing with one-step, two-step, and multi-step. Now, before we try these examples, we want to go ahead and take a look at some things that we need to remember. So I wrote down 4 things here, and these are probably the 4 most important things you want to remember when you are solving inequalities. So the first thing you want to remember, solve just like you would an equation. So you're going to solve these inequalities just like you would with an equation. Okay, you're going to treat the inequality sign like an equal sign, and what you do to one side, you're going to do to the other side. Okay, pretty straightforward. Number 2, if you divide or multiply by a negative, you must flip the inequality sign. That's very important, and we will have examples where you will have to do that in this video. So that will make more sense as we do them. But again, if you multiply or divide by a negative, you do have to flip the inequality sign. Number 3, the variable should always be to the left of the inequality sign. Now, technically, it doesn't matter where you leave the variable at the end. Technically, you could leave it on the right-hand side, but the proper way to leave it is on the left-hand side, and we'll talk about why you want to do that. And again, this will make more sense as we do the examples in the video. And then number 4, graph your solution. That's very important. Don't just solve it. You want to graph it by putting it on a number line. So let's take a look at the first example. All right, so here's our first example. Now, our first step here, we want to get rid of this positive 3. Again, we're going to treat this inequality symbol right here like an equal sign. So right now, the statement reads x plus 3 greater than 15. So my goal right now is to isolate x, okay? So to do that, I have to subtract 3 on both sides. Very similar to how you would solve an equation, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to minus 3, minus 3. This will cancel. I bring down my x. I bring down my inequality. 15 minus 3, I get 12. There it is, solved. Now, it's important to understand here that x represents all real numbers. So another way of reading your solution is all real numbers greater than 12. So from here, we have to put it on a number line. So real quick, we're just going to draw on a number line. It does not have to be perfect, okay? Typically, when I put on a number line, I just put on 0. And then I'm either going to the right or left of 0, depending on what my number is. Now, my number here is 12. So I'm going to be going to the right, and I'll just go ahead and put 12 right here. That's fine, okay? Now, what type of circle is it going to be? Well, it's going to be an open circle, okay? So we're assuming that you know open and closed circles based on the inequality sign. If you don't, we can go ahead and review that real quick. So if you have greater than or less than, you're going to be using an open circle. If you have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, you're going to be using a shaded in circle or a closed circle, okay? And all that's telling you, if you have an open circle, it's going right up to that value, but not actually on it. If you have a closed circle, that tells you that you're exactly on that value, and it's going to be included in your solution. So this statement right here, x greater than 12, 12 is not actually part of my solution, because what I'm saying here is all real numbers greater than 12. They can't be equal to 12, right? So to show that on the graph, we do an open circle on 12, okay? And we have to show what numbers we're including here. Are we going to be going to the left or the right? Well, we're going to be going to the right of 12, so we're going to be shading to the right. Now, a simple way to help you with the shading, look at the pointer of your final solution. So here's my final solution right here, right? So the pointer I'm talking about is right here. See this pointer right here? It's the inequality sign, but it's making like a pointer, and it's telling you to go to the right. So you can use that trick to help you. It's telling me to go to the right, so I'm going to shade to the right. Or you can just read it. Again, all real numbers greater than 12. So this one's done, okay? Let's take a look at another example here. So here's my next example. It's another one-step inequality. So we're going to go ahead and solve it just like we would an equation. I'm going to take this negative 5 and I'm going to add it on both sides. Okay? So adding it on both sides, it will cancel here. 7 plus 5, we get 12. And then greater than or equal to x. Now here's the thing. You don't want to leave it in this format here where your variable is on the right-hand side. You want to go ahead and rewrite it. Okay? And we'll talk about why you want to do that very shortly. But for now, we want to rewrite it. So to do that, it's very simple. You just write your variable, leave a space, and then put the value that you have. In our case here, it's going to be 12. Okay? Now, again, you can look at the inequality. You can see how it's almost making like a Pac-Man or a mouth, this part right here. So what is it eating? Well, based on the statement that we have here, it's eating the 12. Okay, so we want to make sure that we stay consistent. It's still going to be eating the 12. So when I rewrite it, it's now going this way. Okay, it's eating the 12. So a little simple trick you can use there. So this is now done. That's how we want it written. Now, again, these are both the same, but this is the proper way of writing it. And here's why. Because when you go to graph it, which we're going to do right now, we're going to go ahead and put 0 on here and then 12. If you were to use the pointer method here, where you're looking at the pointer and it's telling you which way to go, if you leave it in this format here, look at where the pointer is telling you to go. The pointer is telling you to go to the right. But when we rearranged it, it's telling you to go to the left. Okay? So if you don't rearrange it and you're using that pointer method, you're going to get it wrong. All right, so you want to make sure you're writing it in the correct format. And again, that is the proper way of writing it. So that's how we're going to do it. And so now I'm going to go ahead and graph it. Now this one here is going to be a closed circle because it's equal to. So closed circle on 12, and it's telling me to go to the left. Again, all real numbers less than or equal to 12. That's going to be to the left. All right, and there we go. All right, let's keep going. So here's our next example. Now we have a two-step inequality. My first step here, I have to get rid of this positive 3. Again, if you're confused on what to do PEMDAS in reverse. Okay, that will tell you what to do. So if you write out PEMDAS and you're confused about what operation you should be doing, just do PEMDAS in reverse. So I can see here that I need to do either addition or subtraction first. Going left to right, I have a positive 3 here. That's what I have to take care of first. And then I have a negative 2 times x. That will come next. Okay, so a little trick you can use if you're confused about what operations to do. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to get rid of that positive 3. So I'm going to minus 3 on both sides. Okay. This will cancel. 43 minus 3 will give you 40. Greater than, right, bring down the inequality, negative 2x. My last step here, I have multiplication, meaning I have to do division. Now look what happens here. I'm going to end up dividing by a negative number. Now if you remember from the beginning of the video, if you divide or multiply by a negative number, you need to flip the inequality. So I'm going to go ahead and circle this because I have to remember to flip it. So this will cancel. 40 divided by negative 2 is negative 20. Okay, I have to flip my inequality, so now it's going this way, and then bring down my variable. And again, we want to write it in the proper format. I want the variable on the left-hand side, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the problem. I have x, leave a space, put negative 20. Look at the original. What is it eating? The Pac-Man is eating the x, right? So when I rewrite it, I want to make sure it's still eating the x. Okay. There it is. Now we're going to go ahead and graph it. So putting it on a number line. Here is 0. We'll just say that negative 20 is right here. It's going to be an open circle. And again, you can use your pointer here. The pointer is telling you to go to the right. But again, it's all real numbers greater than negative 20. So we are, in fact, going to be going to the right. Okay? There it is. Okay, let's keep going. So here's another example. Now this one here, you can do a couple of different ways. You could take the negative 6 and you could distribute inside. That's typically what most students are going to do. But an easier way to do the problem. I have multiplication here. It's negative 6 times everything inside. The opposite of multiplication is division. So rather than distribute the negative 6, I could go ahead and divide this entire thing by a negative 6, and that will cancel it out here. Okay, I also have to divide by a negative 6 here. Now, hold on a second. I divided by a negative number, meaning I have to flip this inequality. Okay, so in your calculator, you're going to do 72 divided by negative 6. And when you do that, you should get negative 12. So I'm going to put negative 12 here. I am going to flip the inequality, don't forget. And now I have 8 plus x. One more step, get rid of the positive 8. So minus 8, minus 8. This will cancel. Negative 12 and a negative 8 make negative 20. Bring down your inequality, bring down your variable. Now I want to write it in the proper format, so I'm going to rewrite it. X, leave a space, and then put negative 20. What is it eating? It's eating the x. Make sure you stay consistent. Still eating the x. Okay, so that is done. That's how we want it written. And now we're going to graph it. So on a number line, put 0, put negative 20. It is going to be a closed circle on negative 20, and we're going to the right. Again, all real numbers greater than or equal to negative 20. So again, to the right. Okay, 2 more problems and then we're done. So here's our next problem. And what we're going to do here is clean it up on the left-hand side. I'm going to take this 6 and I'm going to distribute. You're not going to want to divide everything by 6. So for example, if you divide here by 6, here by 6, and here by 6, you're not going to want to do that because you're going to end up with fractions both here, and then you have to deal with fractions, right? So in this case here, we're not going to do like we did in the last problem. We're just going to go ahead and distribute, all right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to rewrite it. I get 3x plus 6x. Again, we're just going to distribute the 6 and then negative 18. Less than or equal to negative 63. From here, we want to combine like terms. 3x and 6x, that will give me 9x minus 18, less than or equal to negative 63. A couple more steps. We want to add 18. So we're adding 18 on both sides. This will cancel. I bring down 9x, bring down my inequality. Negative 63 plus 18 will give you negative 45. So negative 45. And this is a good example because you're going to see what happens here. I'm going to have to divide by 9. Okay, so I'm dividing by 9. Now, a lot of students get tripped up here. You did not divide by a negative here. A lot of students will look at this negative here and they think that they have to flip the inequality now. You don't. It's only when you divide or multiply by a negative number. I am dividing into a negative number here. I'm not dividing by a negative number. So that's totally different. So I do not have to flip the inequality here, okay? It's only, again, when you divide or multiply by a negative number. In this scenario here, I'm dividing into a negative number that's different, okay? So we do not have to flip it. So we're going to go ahead and just cancel this out here. I'm going to be left with x less than or equal to negative 45 divided by 9 will give you negative 5. Okay, and we're good. It's in the proper format. We're going to go ahead and box it in, and then we're going to graph it. So graphing it, we're just going to do it over here. Put on our number line. Okay, 0, negative 5 will be right here. And it's going to be a closed circle, right? It's equal to. And we're going to be shading to the left. Again, the statement reads all real numbers less than or equal to negative 5. So again, that is going to the left. All right, let's try one more example. Okay, so here's my last example. And on this one here, there's a couple of things you could do here. You could take the negative 5 and you could go ahead and distribute. That's totally fine. So if you want to distribute here, you can do that. But for this one here, it makes sense to divide everything by negative 5 because I'm not going to end up with a fraction if I do that. So in this case here, I'm going to divide everything by negative 5 because again, that's going to be the path of least resistance, and that's what I like to do. I like to do things the easy way, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So getting rid of this here, we're going to divide both sides by negative 5. That will cancel here, and I also have to do it here. Now remember, you did divide by a negative, meaning you have to flip the inequality right here. So I'm going to circle it so I don't forget. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do these operations. So negative 70 divided by negative 5, that's going to give me positive 14. So I get positive 14, bring down my inequality, but remember, I do have to flip it. So now it's going this way. And then I have 3x minus 1, okay? So from here, I got 2 more steps and then I'm done. I'm going to add 1. So adding 1 on both sides. This will cancel. 14 plus 1, I get 15. Less than 3x. Last step, divide both sides by 3. And we get 15 divided by 3. That's going to give us 5. So I have 5 less than x. Remember, we want to write it in the proper format, so I'm going to have to rearrange it. So again, rewrite the x, leave a space, put the 5, look at the original. What is it eating? It's eating the x, so let's stay consistent. It's still eating the x, right? Here it is, completely done. Okay, there's our answer. Now all we have to do is graph it. Let's go ahead and do that. So putting it on a number line, we'll go ahead and put 0 right here. We'll put 5 right here. It's an open circle, and it is going to the right, okay? So again, that reads all real numbers greater than 5. Don't forget to flip it if you divide or multiply by a negative number. And that is it, right? So that is solving inequalities. If the video did help you, if you could just go ahead and give it a thumbs up, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you get more math videos in the future, and I'll see you in the next one.